In this lesson, we are going to go over fringe ranges and cutoffs. You should be somewhat familiar with what a fringe is before viewing this lesson, so I'll give you a quick explanation of a fringe. A fringe is a percentage or a flat rate added to the total of a line item. So in the simplest of terms, a 10% fringe would add 10% to the subtotal of that line. Here is an example of a simple percentage fringe. If you navigate to the detail line item of an account, say talent, then actors, and add a line item for the actor, and give that actor a weekly rate of, say, $1,000, then change the amount to 6 for weeks of shooting. The subtotal for that line would be $6,000. Let's add a simple 10% fringe to this line. Click on the fringe column. And in this example, you can see there are no fringes created for this budget. So click on the Setup button. Then click on the plus sign to create your first fringe. I'll enter SAG for the name and enter 10 for the percent. Notice this cutoff column here. For now, I will leave it empty. When I close the window, you will see that you can now attach the newly created SAG fringe to the line item lead actor. And when you do, the fringe column displays 600, which is simply 10% of 6,000. Also, you will notice a blue F here, indicating that this line item contains a fringe. Going back to the detail level, you can see the total fringes here at 600. Next, I'm going to add a cutoff to this fringe. Another way to see the fringes for this budget is to select the Setup menu and then select Fringe Management Fringes. Let's go to the cutoff column and enter 10,000. What this means is that the fringe will never exceed 10% of 10,000, which is 1,000. Moving this window down, you can see that the fringe is currently 600, which is below the 1,000 cutoff, so we are fine. But what if the weeks changed from 6 to, say, 11? Notice what happened. The fringes are now capped at 1,000, which is the cutoff. 10% of 11,000 should be 1,100. Let's check this. I will remove the cutoff for this fringe. And when I refresh the detail screen by clicking on the fringe here, the fringes calculate to 1,100, which is 10% of 11,000. Okay, so I'm going to put back the cutoff and refresh the fringe again. Next, let's say that we want to create 3 lines for this actor, which is common. 1 for prep, 1 for shoot, and 1 for wrap. I'll change the one we entered here and label it prep. I'll duplicate it twice and call one shoot and the other wrap. I'll change the weeks for the prep to 2 weeks. And I'll change the weeks for wrap to 1 week and shoot to 10 weeks. For clarity, I will block the other line items here for this account, so we are just looking at the lead actor lines. Now, if you look at the total fringes down here, the total for the SAG fringes is $1,300. This is calculated because each line is 10% of that line's total. Since we have 13 weeks, at $1,000 a week, that totals to $13,000. 10% of 13,000 is 1,300. So it does total properly. The problem is that all these three lines are really supposed to be totaled together for cutoff purposes. Since 13,000 exceeds the 10,000 cutoff, in reality, the cutoff for all three combined line items should be 10,000. But the software does not know that these three line items are supposed to be together. That is where Fringe ranges comes in. Let's group these three lines into a fringe range for cutoff purposes. From the Setup menu, select Fringe Management, then Fringe Ranges. Enter a name for the fringe range. I will name it Lead Actor, and then click the Create Fringe Range button. Take a look at what it says here. A fringe range allows for the cutoff for the selected fringe to apply to all combined line items, totaling the amount, then multiplying by the percentage to get the cutoff. In this list, you can select any line item to be part of this fringe range. I will select the Lead Actor Prep, Shoot, Wrap lines one at a time. And when I do, notice that the fringes in the fringe column change from an amount to NA, not available. That is because the fringe is now calculated using the combined subtotal for all three lines. If I move the Fringe Ranges window out of the way, just for a moment, notice that the same NA appears here in the fringe column. Also notice that the blue F is now a red FR for fringe range. And more importantly, look at the total fringe down here for the entire account. It now totals $1,000, which is the cutoff. Okay, next I'm going to show you that you can have a normal fringe percentage line in addition to a fringe set for the same account. I will create a new detail line item and call it Supporting Actor at a rate of 500 and 11 weeks. This totals to $5,500. Let's add the SAG fringe to this line. This will calculate to $550, which is a simple 10%. If you click here on the total fringes, notice that there is a total for the fringe and a separate total for the fringe range, which, as we know, is 1,000. So both fringes together total to $1,550. Let's do this again. I will go to another account, say Director, and go to the detail level. Before I add a line, I will specify my Prep, Shoot, Wrap weeks. To do this, from the Extras menu, select Budget Preferences. Select the Prep, Shoot, Wrap tab and enter values here. This time, I will select the Insert Prep, Shoot, Wrap button down here. And notice that Gorilla created 3 lines for me and automatically inserted 2, 6, 1 for the Prep, Shoot, Wrap weeks. I will enter 2,500 for the rate for all 3 lines. And just for clarity, I will block out this miscellaneous expense line. Let's create a new fringe, H and B, for health and benefits, and give it, say, 15% this time. In the cutoff, let's enter 10,000. I will then add the H and B fringe to all 3 lines. Now, let's create a fringe range and combine these three lines together. This is another way to shortcut to the fringe ranges. Then select the Prep Shoot wrap lines. And notice that the total fringe for the combined account lines is now 1,500, which is 15% of 10,000, which equals the cutoff. Next, I will show you how to add two fringe sets to the same account. In this instance, I have created two separate accounts within the same account. I want the Director Prep Shoot wrap lines to be together, and I want the Assistant Director Prep Shoot wrap lines also together. Let's go into fringe ranges. As you can see, there is one fringe set here called Director Fringe. Let's create a second fringe set. Click the Create Fringe Set button. I will call it Assistant Director Fringe. Now, you can select the active fringe set name and choose one or the other to be active. If I select the Prep Shoot W lines for Assistant Director, they will be grouped to the red fringe set. You can see that by the color and by the name in this column. Let's close this window. Now, let's attach the H and B fringe to the Assistant Director PSW lines. And as you can see, the total fringes for this account is 3,000. 1,500 for Director and 1,500 for Assistant Director. If I were to remove the fringe set from the Assistant Director PSW lines, simply by clicking them here, the fringes jump to 3,900 because these three lines are calculating the fringes separately to total 2,400 instead of a combined 1,500. Lastly, if you want to print a report of your fringes for your budget, select the Print button on the bottom toolbar. Then select Fringes. For this example, select Fringes by %. Another very useful report is accessible in the Fringe Sets screen. You will see a Show Summary button down here. If you click it, you have two options. You can view a report of the fringe sets for this account, which will show you the fringe, the percentage, what the fringes would be before the combined cutoff, and the actual cutoff used. The second option will show you all the fringe sets and cutoffs used for the entire budget. So again, here you can see what the fringe amount would be if you did not combine the account line items into fringe sets. That's a wrap. Have a great shoot.